Hi crafters, welcome back to another segment of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia. In this episode we are going to make a cute little flower that looks like a carnation. All you need for this is white printer paper, a stapler, scissors, special edge scissors if you've got them but they're not necessary, water. If you haven't got water in a spray bottle, then a little bowl of water. And a marker. A Sharpie marker, or it can be water markers like distress ink markers. And we can also use regular kids' paint as long as it's latex, because latex is water-based. Okay, let's begin. I'm going to show you how to fold the paper so you can get enough cuts out of it. Oh, just a little note. This bottle of water that I'm using actually is this, which is a spray bottle of salad dressing. When I was done with it, I like the size, I like the shape, I like the way it fits in my hand, I like the way it's sprayed. So I just took the label off of it, washed it out real good, and made myself a new spray bottle of water, which lasts a little bit longer than, say, a old hairspray travel size. Obviously, this contains much more water, so this works real good for me. But if you haven't got it, it's okay. We're going to use, you can use a bucket of water, a bowl of water too. Okay, with your printer paper, the long ways, fold it in thirds. An easy way to fold it in thirds is just to roll it up on itself, look inside, see if the edges line up, and if they do, start creasing them. Make sure they're even, and then just start creasing them. Okay, we got that folded. And then you're going to fold it in half, crease it, and you're going to fold it in half again. This gives us about a 3-inch square to make our flower out of. You can see that's just about 3 inches there. Gives us about a 3-inch square. Now, using regular scissors or special edge scissors if you've got them. If you've got a circle punch that's at least 2 inches or larger, this is going to give us a not quite a 3-inch circle. If it's got scalloped edges, go ahead and use that. I'm just trying to keep it real simple and show you that you just need simple tools. You don't need to go out and purchase a whole bunch of tools. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this with regular scissors. And just make yourself a nice little circle. And it does not have to be completely round. It can have some funky edges on it. It's okay. You can see mine isn't completely round, but it doesn't matter. We're going to scrunch this all up. Now, this will give you 9 pages, 9 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, excuse me, 12. Okay. This way you can make 2 flowers out of 6 petals each, or you can make a flower of 8 and you might have to cut some more. I like using 8 because it makes a real nice round fluffy carnation. But I'm going to show you some examples of ones that I made with 6, and you can tell that it's still a nice fluffy carnation. So I'm going to count out 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just set the others aside. Okay, now we need to get these wet. I'm just going to lay them out. I'm going to spritz them with my little water bottle. Now, if you haven't got the spritzer, we've got this bucket of water. You can just run them real quick through the water. I like to use the spritzer because it doesn't get them as wet, but that's okay. They'll still dry. So I'm just going to go ahead and spritz these. And what you want to do when they're still wet is just smush them together into a ball. and roll them between your fingers. Don't fold them together into a ball. It gets a little too difficult when they're dry to kind of separate them. Just smush them. It just works better if you just smush. Don't try to fold them in half and then do something with them or whatever. Okay, and just curl them all up. And be careful when you do this because this paper obviously is wet. And when the paper's wet, it can tear. See, like this one just tore because it was wet. Now, you can go ahead and leave it. It's okay. It'll scrunch up real good. I've made lots of these flowers where I've torn it and it hasn't been a problem. So I'm just going to roll that one up. You just have to be real careful with this kind of paper when you're making these little flowers. Once they're dry, they're okay, but when they're wet, they can tear real easily. Okay, now get your heat tool out and dry them. If you haven't got a heat tool, that's okay. You can air dry them, but it's going to take quite a while to air dry. So what I would suggest if you have to do that is just make a bunch of them. If you're going to have to air dry them, you're really going to like the little flower when it's all said and done. So just make a ton of these and then just let them air dry and go do something else. And the thing is you want to make sure that they're really dry when you start opening up, because this paper is still, when it's wet, it can tear easily, as you saw when I was trying to gather up that one. So as you start to open these back up again, if you find that you've got some wet spots on the inside, stop and dry them. You want to make sure that these are really, really dry before you try to open them. Okay, I'm going to pause this while I dry them. Okay, crafters. I dried them and I started to open them up again, and some of them are still wet, which I think that you might find. So if that's the case, if they're still wet, stop. Don't keep opening them because they're going to rip. Just get your heat gun back out and start drying them. Now, if they fly away on you, I sometimes use a bamboo skewer that I have that's just straight from the kitchen, or you can use a paintbrush to hold them in place while you're drying them, because it does get hot against your hand. If you have to air dry them, then open up as many as you can and just set them aside and go do something else until they're all dried. You really don't want to keep opening them if they're wet. They really, really tear. I make these out of brown paper bags, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. I find that the paper that the brown paper bags are made out of stands up to the wetness a lot better. And I like the brown paper bag because it has that grunge look. And I really like grunge when I'm working on any kind of project, be it a card or a scrapbook page or some kind of multimedia. So, but I just want to show you that you can make them out of any paper. Now, you couldn't make them out of mulberry paper because that'll just disintegrate when you get it wet. And you can't make these out of really thick scrapbook paper. But thin scrapbook paper, pattern papers, you could do this out of. Okay, I'm going to pause this and open these up some more. Okay, I've got them all dry now, and now we're going to start putting them together. When you were unwrapping them, it's easier if you just kind of roll them between your fingers as opposed to trying to spread them apart, because sometimes that can tear them. And you also probably found that some are bigger than others. Some are, just didn't unroll all the way. And that's actually pretty good. We like that. And you can see on the ones that I've got here, I've torn some, but that's okay too. It's not going to matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather the biggest ones together first and just start layering them together. Trying to make sure I keep a center point on each one. See, this one's really kind of mangled pretty good, but that's okay. It's going to work out all right. This one's really mangled, got mangled in the center, but that's okay. And remember, try and keep a center point. Now, I like to attach these with a stapler. There's my handy dandy stapler. Another tool that I just absolutely love is Tim Holtz's Tiny Attacher. The staple in this is about half the size of a regular stapler. So it works great for little projects like this, and it just feels good in the hand. Got a nice little wide opening here. It's a wonderful tool to have. Also, if you haven't even got a stapler, you can use a needle and thread and pretend like you're sewing a button where you come up from the bottom, cross over a little bit, and then go back down and then tie them down in the center. You can also use a brad if you happen to have some additional tools that, say, a scrapbooker would have. And then you would use your a piercing tool in the center, pierce it, and then stick the brad in. Now that works really good, and it's a nice secure holding. However, in this flower, you're going to be covering that up. Now, if you want to keep the brad exposed, don't crinkle the flower so much together, and then you have a cute, nice little center in there. But for this, I'm just going to crinkle it all up so it looks like a real carnation to me. So I've got all my layers together, and I'm going to put it in my stapler, find the center, and I'm just going to staple on down. Okay, now we've got it stapled. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start gathering it all back up together again by the individual layers. And just start smushing them all together again. Smush them together and do it by each layer. Seems to work better than if you tried to gather it all up like, say, like this and smushed it together. By doing the layers separately, it gives it more of the flower look. So I just scrunch them all together, just keep pushing them together in the center, layer by layer. And just keep working this like this on the flower. And it's real helpful that these are dry. Make sure that they're dry. Okay, now I've gotten to some of the layers that were torn, and you really can't tell, so it's okay. But if it bothers you that they're torn, then just go ahead and make another circle, another petal, and don't use it. It doesn't bother me. Okay, so I'm scrunching this all up. You see it's all scrunched up. Okay, so here we have it all scrunched up. Now we need to open it back up again. And just use your little fingers to open it back up. And then get it the way you like it. Get it the way you like it in the center. Okay. And now you can leave it alone and you have a nice white carnation, or you can get a Sharpie out of whatever color you want to use. If you want it to match the project that you're working on, go ahead and do that. I'm just going to take the edge of the Sharpie and I'm just going to start running it down the flower. And what I'm doing is I'm making one of those kind of carnations that is just tipped on the edge. And the Sharpie also helps to spread this apart a little bit more too. Now you can use any color Sharpie you like, any kind of marker that you like. Sharpies are alcohol ink, they're permanent. I'm going to show you in a few seconds one that I do with a water-based and what you can do with water-based. Okay, now it's done. Isn't that cute? It looks like a regular tipped carnation. Okay, I'm going to show you using, these are distress markers and they're water-based. There's lots of water-based markers out there. Crayola even has some. If you have kids, and they might have some water markers. I made up some before. I'm going to show you what we can do with these. I'm going to take the yellow marker, and I'm just going to start really drawing on this with the yellow marker. And you can see that it's helping to spread the flower apart too. and just getting in there with that yellow marker, water-based marker, and adding it just randomly on the flower, just random. Okay, now I think I might have enough of the yellow. See, I'm putting a lot in the center there. I'm going to take another color. I happen to have, this is brick red. And I'm going to add some of this color to it too. And just draw it on there. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Just add it to it. Okay. Then I'm going to take my spray bottle and I'm going to spray it. And because these are water-based, the colors are going to run. And it's going to help color the flower. You see that? Now you can always add more. It'll run some more. Saturate it pretty good. You can see, because I saturated it also, that it kind of opened it up a little bit more too. Now you can let this air dry, or you can, you know, dry it with your heat tool. Now I'm going to show you another one. These are kids' paint. They're just, you know, the cheap little paints that you can get in any of the crafting departments. Okay, I'm going to open them up. Some of them are pretty difficult to open. Okay, I'm going to use a yellow. Okay, and let's, how about a pink? And how about a red? Okay, get yourself a paintbrush, dip it in some water. I'm going to take the yellow because I want to do like a yellow center. I'm going to paint it yellow in the center. Doesn't matter how little, how much you want to put on it. It's your flower. Do it any way you want to. Okay, then I'm going to switch to the pink. I'm going to go around the edges with the pink, keeping the yellow in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to finish edging it in the red. Now these are latex paints, and latex paints are water-based, because then we're going to wet this. And by wetting it, it's going to spread the paint around. So once again, I'm going to spray it. And with the paint, I'm going to take it and I'm going to smush it together. And when you smush it together, if it's wet enough, you can kind of see some of the paint squishing up on it. And then just open it up again. I like to use my brush to open it. And there we go. We have a really pretty little carnation. It's got all sorts of cute little colors in it with a nice little yellow center. You can color these any way you want to. You can use inks. If you happen to have any of the like water-based inks, like a distress ink is, you can color them that way. You can spray them with any kind of spray ink that you might have, like a Glimmer Mist or Lindsay Stamp Gang. Just anything. You can decorate them any way you want to. You can actually color these before you put them together if you want to have them a specific color. You can color them before you put them together. Isn't that cute? Okay, now I also said that I like making them out of brown paper bags. And I'm going to show you some of the ones I've made out of brown paper bags because I love the grunge look of brown paper bags. Oh, also, these that I made, these were made with 6 petals. This one's made with 8. You can see that there's a difference between them. This is a little thicker looking and has much more frilly to it than this does. So depending on how you want to do it, you can use as many petals as you want. Once again, these are the brown paper bag. I just love the brown paper bag look. I just think it's gorgeous. Plus, because it's brown paper bag, for some reason it just really seems to hold up better in the water. And anybody who's taken a brown paper bag to work or to school remembers how it would hold up really good for you. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can cut the brown paper bag. Let me get this cleaned up. Put these all back. Okay, this is just your regular school lunch bag. They also come in white. You don't have to use the brown. If you like the look of the white flower, go ahead. If you've got white ones, use the white one. If you don't, then like you saw, printer paper works just fine. I'm going to show you how to cut this bag. So you've got the bag and, this little flappy that forms the bottom. Just kind of pull that back, and you can see this crease right here. I'm just going to cut it with a pair of scissors and cut it apart right on that crease. Set that aside for another project. Here's your bag. Now, the bag has got a seam to it. You don't want the seam to be in the middle of your flower. So just fold on the seam, spread the bag open, fold it down, crease it. Now I've got the seam up here. This is the seam. I'm going to fold the bag in half up to the seam, crease it, then I'm going to fold it in half again. Okay, now I can take scissors, I can cut a circle out of this, and I will have 8 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because of the way we folded it. You do exactly the same thing that we did in this technique, except you're using the paper lunch bag. If you haven't got a paper lunch bag and you actually have got a regular brown bag, just cut yourself a strip as wide as you want that flower to be. Open the bag up. Don't cut it apart. Just keep it in the round shape that it is, okay? Stretch it out and fold it. And fold it in half again. Then fold it in half again. Okay, now, by doing this, you're going to get 8. If you want more, because this is considerably bigger, you could go in thirds. And you're going to get 12. You can cut this into your circles using a regular paper bag. If you are fortunate where your supermarkets still give out paper bags, make sure you pick up some of them. Most supermarkets now are doing the plastic bags, or they want you to recycle and bring your own bags. Brown paper bags are wonderful for crafting, and I'm going to be showing some more things that you can do with brown paper bags later on in the year. So now we cut this apart. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's 11, 12. This one didn't cut real good because of the way it was folded, but that's okay. So you actually got 12. You could make, 2 flowers of 6, because you can see it's still a nice fluffy little flower, or cut some more out of the bag and make a flower of 8. I inked these with Distress ink before I actually smushed them all together. You can spray them with Distress ink. You can do paper to pad technique, or you can actually put the Distress ink right here on the crafting sheet. And I'll show you that. I just take the pad and just rub it on the crafting sheet. You can spritz it with water. And then you can just start dragging these through. Scrunch them up as you're doing it. It's so easy to do. You could put paint down and do the same thing. There's just a million different ways that you can decorate your flowers. So I hope you enjoyed this technique, and I'd like to see some postings of it. So let me know, and tune in again next week for another quick and simple little flower on Kiss. Keep It Simple, Sylvia. Thank you so much for watching. Until next Friday, goodbye.